We're here this morning in response to our residents' concern about a spate of violent crime that we have experienced in Durham to begin this year. We want to speak to the residents' concerns. We want to give our residents the facts, and we want to let our residents know what we as a city do to fight violent crime every day. As Beverly said, I'll be speaking briefly. Then we will be hearing also from Chief Davis, County Commissioner Wendy Jacobs, and we'll wrap up with Sheriff Burkhead. And then after that, if you have questions, we'll be here to take them as well. Every time someone is shot in Durham, it rips a hole in a family, it rips a hole in a neighborhood, it rips a hole in a community. When a young mother and a child are killed, it's a terrible tragedy, not just for them and that family, but for everyone in Durham. Nothing is more important to the leadership in this city than reducing gun violence and ending these personal tragedies. It is at the top of our list of priorities. We spend more money, more effort, more time, and more people power on this than anything else that we do in the city of Durham to keep our city safe. So when a spate of violent crimes, as we've had at the beginning of this year, occurs, we take stock of our work and we think about what we're doing and we think about what we can be doing better. So I want to tell you what we do, but first what I want to talk about is I want to put this recent violent crime in some context, because I don't want the facts to get lost behind the TV footage of individual crimes. In 2018, for the entire year, we had 866 gun-related crimes in Durham. Even one such crime is too many. But it's critically important to know that this is fewer gun-related crimes than we had in 2017. It's fewer gun-related crimes than we had in 2016. It's fewer gun-related crimes than we had in 2015. And this is despite the rapid expansion in our city's population. In fact, we can boast what few, if any, cities in this country experienced in 2018. Crimes with a gun in Durham were down 20% from the year before. This is a huge number. As I say, I doubt any other cities, or certainly not many other cities in this country, have had that kind of achievement in the reduction in gun crime. I certainly don't expect that we could match it this year, although we will try in this current year. But while we're focused in the last 2 weeks on the terrible crimes that were committed early this year in Durham, they were very terrible and they were very visible. I don't want us to lose sight of the big picture. Durham is a safe city, a city that is safer than most cities of our size in this country. And gun crime is not up this year. In fact, in the last year, due to the good work of many, many people, of our police and our community, gun violence in Durham is actually way down. That doesn't just happen. It takes work by a lot of people. And here's some of that work. We work very collaboratively in Durham to make this happen with our police, with our sheriff's department, with our district attorney, and with our federal partners to stop the violence at its source. We have a fabulous police force. Let me just say that right out. We have 548 sworn officers, 30 more than we had a couple of years ago. We hire the best, we pay them well, we train them well, we support them well, and we have people who lead them well, and then we hold them accountable just as we do all of our city employees. We have raised police pay to make our police pay competitive with our other localities around us. We provide take-home police cars to every patrol officer who lives here in Durham. We have worked hard and successfully to continue to diversify our police force so that it represents the community it serves. I am very proud of our young recruits every time I see a new class of recruits who are flocking to serve in the Durham Police Department, because we have a great police department that does great work every day. This department is very well led. Chief Davis is a terrific chief. She has made strategic policing changes like the creation of the robbery task force that has been so successful in this past year. But she's also concentrated on reforms to win the trust of the community, especially communities of color, including the appointment of police liaison officers, the support of our misdemeanor diversion court, which keeps police resources focused on fighting violent crime instead of criminalizing small infractions like marijuana possession. She is exceptionally visible herself all over the city and every community. We are doing many things to win the trust of communities here in Durham, especially communities of color when it comes to law enforcement. And I only listed 2 or 3, but we are doing that on many fronts. Every week, the police department has what's called CompStat, where police captains from each district report to the command staff and all the other district captains on every significant crime that has taken place in their district, on every crime pattern, on every person who might be committing crimes in that district who is known to have been doing so. I've been to those meetings. They're rigorous. The command staff sits at the front, and the captain comes up, and the officers there talk to that captain and ask very, very rigorous questions to those captains. It is a process that is a strong process. It's a process that leads to solving a lot of crimes, and a lot of great work goes into it. Once a month, we have the Violent Crime Roundtable. I sit at the head of that table, and at that time, we have the police department there, the police chief, the sheriff, the DA, the school district, the superintendent comes, the head of our health department, the head of probation and parole, the federal district attorney, the Criminal Justice Resource Center folks, representatives of Bull City United, all the people in Durham who are trying to reduce gun violence come together to look at patterns and to see how we can share resources to better battle gun violence. We have the Crime Cabinet. It's co-chaired by my wonderful City Council colleague, Charlie Reese, who's here today, as well as by Commissioner Ellen Reckhow, to look at the full gamut of crime-related issues and see how we can improve our work. Once a month, we have the Gang Reduction Steering Committee. It's chaired by the city and county managers, and it meets regularly to talk about our strategies for reducing gang violence. So we work on this a lot, and we work on it very hard. And one of the things that we know is that it can't be the police alone who do this work. This has got to be a community task. The police can't be there when every crime is committed, and usually once the police are called in, the crime has already been committed. It's too late. We have to have the community all along the way helping out. And Commissioner Jacobs is going to talk about some of those things when she comes up to talk to us about what our community can do and what some of those resources are. But we're fully committed. I can say on behalf of myself and my city council colleagues and all of us in law enforcement in this city to reducing gun violence and making it our highest priority. And I want to, again, welcome Mayor Pro Tem Jillian Johnson as well as Councilmember Reese here today. So here's how we're going to reduce gun violence in Durham in the long run. First of all, and I have to mention this, we have got to have common sense gun laws in this state. Without them, we're not going to do the work that is critically important to reduce the gun to reduce gun violence to the level that we know it needs to be reduced. We need our legislature to have common sense gun laws in this state so we can take guns off the streets. And we're really hamstringed by that right now. But short of that, there are things that we need to do here in Durham. One is great police work and cooperation among our agencies, and I talked about that a minute ago in terms of those meetings that we have. Second is winning the trust of communities, especially communities of color, so that the police are viewed as trusted allies, not as adversaries. And our department is doing everything we can to win that trust. And finally, we need to really remember the most important thing of all. We're not going to solve this unless we attack root causes. Every young person needs to come home to a warm, dry, stable house every single night, to go to a good school, to be able to eat nutritious food every day, to have affordable health care, to have a good job at a good wage. And this is all of our responsibility, not the City Council's responsibility or the County Commission's responsibility alone, but all of our responsibility in this community, to create the kind of community where every young person grows up with these advantages, where our prosperity is shared. That's the way we're going to end violent crime in Durham. We can do this. Let's make the city we love a city for all. And now I'm going to ask Chief Davis if she would come up and say a few words as well. I think I'll mention one other thing ahead of time. We are making some data sheets available to our reporters. The one I would particularly point out, it says press conference at the top, and it gives the numbers that I cited earlier concerning the drop in crime. Crime in Durham violent crime was down by 13.5%, and a 19.81, a 20% reduction in gun crime in Durham in the last year. And so those sheets are available to you. Thank you, and I'm going to now ask Chief Davis for her comments.
Thank you, Mayor Schul. Good morning. I, too, as the Chief of Police here in the city of Durham, would like to respond to the recent episode of violent crime that has occurred in our city during the first days of 2019. As public servants and the guardians of this great city, I want every citizen to be aware that my command staff, investigators, and patrol officers are committed and working persistently to suppress violent crime in the city of Durham. There have been 5 homicides in Durham since the beginning of the new year, and 1 in Durham County. These acts have been alarming to us. And 5 is an unusually high number of incidents in such a short period of time. 3 of the 5 homicides in the city were domestic related, including a double murder, followed by the assailant attempting to commit suicide. This particular shocking incident occurred last week, and it involved a 10-month-old baby and the killing of the mother as well. We also had a double homicide on House Avenue on New Year's Day. This incident was not random, and the victims were targeted. However, I'm pleased to report that 1 person has been arrested in this case, and warrants have been issued for a second suspect who is not in custody at this time. Another death investigation occurred in an apartment complex on Hobson Drive on January 3rd. To clarify this incident, this particular case is not being investigated as a homicide. Our findings suggest that the fatal injuries sustained by the victim in this case appear to be self-inflicted. Durham police officers also responded to 2 shootings involving juvenile teenage females. Neither victim in these cases appear to have been the intended target of this incident. This case involves individuals we believe are gang affiliated and were engaged in an exchange of gunfire. We are actively investigating both of these cases and are following very good leads. The numbers of violent incidents that have occurred so far in 2019 are absolutely inconsistent with crime patterns we experienced during the same period in 2018. Overall violent crime for the year, as the mayor has already indicated, was down approximately 13.5% compared to 2017, and gun-related violent crime was down almost 20%. These statistics were at a 4-year low. Although the new year has gotten off to a challenging start, we plan to utilize all of the resources available to us to ensure we curtail this recent uptick, thus moving forward in the right direction for the remainder of the year. The Durham Police Department is committed to keeping our city safe through the implementation of a variety of strategies that have proven effective over the previous 12 months. We stand united, supported by this administration, to produce an environment where our residents feel free to move about the city without haunting fear following them. Let me share just a few measures that I believe will help curtail crime trends. Our officers are increasing their visibility in the community and conducting numerous directed patrols in areas where crimes have recently occurred. Our gang unit and our intelligence unit have gathered critical information related to recent shootings and work rapidly to identify these crime trends, gang affiliations, and identifying who the key players are. As a result, I'm pleased to say we have made several arrests in recent homicides, robberies, and gun-related incidents. The Durham Police Department hosts a weekly intelligence meeting attended by internal and external partners to share crime data and suspect information. I'm excited about the relationship that our new Durham County Sheriff, Clarence Burkett, and I are developing. With our resources joined together, we can further enhance crime reduction efforts in the city of Durham. In recent weeks, during our many community interactions, we continue to reach out to even our Hispanic residents of Durham, who unfortunately have also been targeted in a series of parking lot robberies. While engaging our Hispanic residents, we've ensured Spanish-speaking officers participate in recent neighborhood canvases, building relationships. We continue to work with Councilmember Caballero, who has been a strong advocate for safe spaces and educating our immigrant communities on safety awareness. The Durham Police Department continues to partner with the various local, state, and federal agencies to combat a myriad of crimes. However, we work very closely with the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms entity, to fight violent gun crimes. We currently have a federal ATF agent that is literally embedded in the Durham Police Department to help us with the prosecution of violent gun crimes. Last year, 2018, the Durham Police Department was able to seize at least 870 weapons from the streets of Durham. Over 120 of those weapons were being moved through a local business, many of which were stolen. So as I mentioned earlier, 3 of the 5 homicides in the city of Durham this year have been domestic related. Our department has a dedicated domestic violence unit with investigators who are specially trained to work with domestic violence victims. If you or someone you know is being subjugated to domestic violence, please call us or any agency specializing in assisting domestic violence victims. Or at any time you feel your life is in imminent danger, just pick up the phone and call 911. Forgive me. So, in closing, we need our residents to partner with us to help keep our great city safe. I'm asking that anyone who has information about these recent incidents that I've mentioned or any other criminal activity, please call us. We cannot do this work alone. We need you to partner with us. You can call Crime Stoppers and remain anonymous. The number is 919-683-1200. It's 919-683-1200. And there are Spanish-speaking operators available as well. Our officers, our elected officials, and our community stand united in our efforts to keeping our city safe. We will continue to seek out perpetrators of violence with deliberate and unmitigated speed. We will not stand by and allow any act of violence to be perpetrated on our innocent community members. Thank you.
I'm Wendy Jacobs, Chair of the Durham County Board of Commissioners, and I stand here today on behalf of our board. I want to recognize my colleague, Commissioner Brenda Howerton, who is also here today. and to say that we stand in solidarity with our police chief, with our sheriff, with our mayor, city council, county commissioners, city government, county government. We all stand here united to say that we will not tolerate gun violence in our community, and to express our deep concern over the recent gun violence and to reassure our community of the tremendous efforts that are taking place every day to combat this violence. I want to highlight also that we want to do all that we can to support our sheriff and our sheriff's department. We are very excited about the new leadership of Sheriff Burkhead and the collaboration that is already taking place between our police department and our sheriff's department, and also our new DA, Satana DeBerry, who is committed to focusing on violent crime. And I already saw in the past week at our violent crime roundtable meeting that the mayor was alluding to, already hearing and seeing the fruits of that improved and increased collaboration and cooperation. So I'm very excited about that. I particularly want to focus in my comments today about what our community can do and to make people aware of the many programs and resources that we have available to help prevent and stop the types of events that we have seen, particularly in just the past weeks, that were tied to gang activity, suicide, and family violence. As we have heard this morning, we are making progress, but there is still so much work ahead of us. Many people have expressed their horror and concern about what has happened in the past few weeks and want to know what they can do to help. And at the end of the day, what it takes to prevent and stop gun violence is a caring and loving community. If you are concerned about someone that you know who needs help and is at risk of being involved in violence of any type, your neighbors, your coworkers, family members, church workers, your children, or yourself, there are many programs, services, and people who can help. And of course, if there is an emergency or a crisis, the first thing is to immediately call 911. But I want to talk a little bit about what trying to help at least some of the root causes. The mayor has alluded to everything that we do in city, county government is really trying to address some of the root causes. But we know that intimate partner violence, also referred to as domestic violence, is a serious problem in Durham and our country. And we have just experienced the tragic murder of a 20-year-old mother and her 10-month-old baby as a result. If you or anyone you know needs help, you can call the 24-hour crisis hotline of the Durham Crisis Response Center. In English, 919-403-6562. In Espanol, 919-519-5195. 3735. For LGBTQ partner violence, you can call those numbers, or you can call the LGBTQ Center of Durham at 984-287-0818. The Durham Crisis Response Center can provide emergency shelter, counseling, support, and legal advice. We also have a family justice center that is located in our courthouse that can help you with protective orders and any other needs that you or your family has. The number there is 450-8970. We understand that there are so many people in our community that are in crisis every day, who are experiencing the impacts of mental health issues, substance use issues. We see this impacting children. We see our foster care population increasing. We see this happening in our community every day. If you need help any time of the day or night, you can call Alliance Behavioral Health Care Crisis Response 24-hour hotline at 800-510-9132. We are also very fortunate in Durham County to have a behavioral walk-in urgent care clinic. A lot of us are used to physical health walk-in clinics that we go to, but we have an urgent care behavioral health walk-in clinic that you or your children can go to if you need help and just walk in the door without an appointment. That phone number is 919-251-9009. We also have a 24-hour suicide prevention hotline, 919-231-4525, where there are people there who you can talk to, who will listen to you. And all of these hotlines are not just if you are personally experiencing a crisis, but if you also have a loved one that you are concerned about and you're trying to get help and advice and figure out what you can do. Durham County has many programs to support the well-being of our children and adults. If your family is in crisis, you need counseling, housing, or help with food, please call. There are organizations like the Family Exchange Center at 919-403-8249 that is committed to supporting families, or Durham County Adult and Crisis Services at 919-560-8622. Many people don't know we have an amazing online resource called Network of Care. It is unfortunately a secret to many people in our community. And Network of Care has a list of so many resources and the phone numbers and how to contact them for so many needs. And you can find that at www.durhamnetworkofcare.org to look at what is available. In your own home, you can help prevent gun violence and gun accidents by limiting the access and availability of guns. Durham County's public health gun safety team provides free gun locks and information about how to keep your own guns safe. Call 919-560-7765. And as the police chief alluded to, we have a serious problem of illegal weapons and guns that are just pervasive in our community. As she mentioned, over 800 guns have been confiscated in the past year, and for the Sheriff's Department, over 200 illegal weapons. If you know of somebody, a child, a youth, an adult, that you are concerned about who has access to a legal weapon, you can do something about it. You can contact Crime Stoppers, police, Sheriff's Department. If it's at school and you're a student, you can tell any adult in the school community about your concern. Again, this is something where we all have to work together to stop the number of illegal weapons and guns that are on the streets and in our homes in our community. Durham County believes that all adults and children deserve to live in a safe neighborhood and a home free of violence. We recognize that gun violence and violence in general is a public health issue, and we believe that the trauma caused by gun violence and all violence must be treated to address the detrimental impacts of the trauma on our children, youth, and adults that also can contribute to continuing cycles of violence that we see within families. This is why we are taking steps for Durham County to become a resilient and trauma-informed community. And we are working on strategies to identify and address adverse childhood experiences that we know have lingering impacts on children and adults. Durham City and County staff, first responders, and law enforcement are all being trained in crisis intervention training, mental health first aid, and how to identify the signs of domestic violence and human trafficking in our community. We are proud of Project Build, our gang intervention program, which provides wraparound support for youth who are at risk of joining gangs, and our Bull City United program, whose trained outreach workers help mediate conflicts, connect people to jobs and resources, and work to stop the cycle of gun violence. The Durham County Board of Commissioners and Durham County government, we stand here today, united with our city government, our city council, our Durham Police Chief and Police Department, our sheriff, and our Sheriff's Department, to say that the loss of gun violence is unacceptable, and every person we lose is a loss to all of us. Any of us can be impacted by the random violence of gangs and criminal behavior, the pain of suicide, and intimate partner violence. We must all keep working hard every day to take care of each other and to be the loving and caring community we aspire to be, where everybody can live and thrive. Thank you.
Let me just reiterate and echo what has already been said and just reaffirm our commitment to work together. I am excited and pleased to be standing before you as your new sheriff. And as Chief Davis has already mentioned, we are working together to combat crime and particularly gun violence in our community, in our city. Happy to stand with Mayor Schul, Commissioner Howerton, Commissioner Jacob, and our city leaders. This is an issue that impacts all of us, as already been said, and we must work together. We must support and work with our federal partners, our ATF partners. Again, these issues are not unique to Durham, but this is our city, and this is a crisis that we are currently experiencing. And I assure you that the Sheriff's Office is going to pledge all of its resources to work with Chief Davis and her team, who are already doing some tremendous work in the city. We're just going to take that to the next level because it impacts every one of us. Serious crime like the ones we've recently experienced impact every community inside and outside the city limits. I've spent the last several months traveling throughout the county, and I've heard stories about the impact of mental illness and certainly the impact of gun violence. I am excited to work with some of my community partners I see in the audience today. We're going to convene a conversation so we can talk about how we reach some of these young men and women who are engaging in these violent acts. Our mission as law enforcement officers is to prevent crime and disorder. However, we rely on the cooperation of every public official, our law enforcement, our federal and state, and every member of this community to help us address these issues. As has already been said, the police and the Sheriff's Office cannot do it all, and we certainly cannot do it alone. The men and women of the Sheriff's Office are committed to working at the ground level and all the way up. The Chief and I work constant meetings and will continue to do so and develop strategies that are effective at getting the guns off the street. Far too many guns are in our community. The mayor mentioned gun legislation. I've talked with our leaders in Raleigh about smart gun legislation and how we can minimize and hopefully limit the access that these young men and women have to these illegal weapons. And we have to start that process now. Far too many young men, young ladies tell me they can get a gun easier than they can get a meal. It's not real difficult for them to go to a family member or another friend in the community and get a weapon. And that's just unacceptable. So we have to do all we can do. And I stand before you committed to do so. Thank you.
We're going to open it up to questions, and we ask that you use the mic so that you can be picked up via the feeds. There's one mic right there. Okay. And please reference the person who you'd like to answer your question. Thank you.
Mayor Schewel. You talked about common sense gun laws. What did you have in mind when you said that?
Well, what I had in mind was the fact that, for example, in North Carolina, we're not allowed to keep guns, prohibit guns from our parks, our trails, restaurants, or even bars because of our state legislature. We need to be able to restrict where guns are used, and we also need to be able to restrict the purchase of guns. We need background checks. We need to make sure that the flea markets where guns are sold, that's prohibited. There are lots of things that the state legislature could do to make it so that it would be difficult to get a gun in Durham and in North Carolina instead of easy. And I appreciated what the sheriff said about that. How easy it is. We need to make it very difficult to get guns, and we need our legislature to do it themselves or to allow us to do it locally.
For Chief Davis, I'm looking at a news release now from the House Avenue double murder, and it says that one of the suspects who was charged with accessory after the fact posted his bond almost immediately and was released from jail. Do you feel enough is being done in the court system to help you all?
Well, I think that we have to continue to work with our magistrates and judicial authorities to help to better explain why a person might need to remain in custody, especially as it relates to some of our most egregious crimes. Constantly thinking about the victims of crimes, the fear that exists in a person who may become a witness, may have to go on the stand. They may become very timid about whether or not they will even participate in the adjudication process because they could feel intimidated or themselves or their family may be in danger. So we have to continue to work with our judicial authorities to help explain our position, and also with our DA, who has been in meetings with us to help find where that balance is as it relates to allowing individuals who are not a threat to the community out on bond. But those that have proven themselves to be a threat to our communities, I advocate for them to remain in custody.
And to be clear, if I can follow up, do you think that bond, $50,000 for 2 counts of accessory after the fact of murder, was too low?
Well, I feel that any bond that would allow a person back on the street in 24 hours, that threatens not just the life of the individuals that might be involved in that particular crime, but also other individuals that could be subjected to some type of criminal activity. So, yes.
Let me also follow up on that because you ask a very important question. I think this gets to a bigger issue, which is the issue of money bail. As long as we have a system where people can pay their way out if they have money, and can't pay their way out if they don't, we're going to have a system that's not working for us, for the residents of our city. So, for example, with the system of money bail that we have now, we have many people who are languishing in jail for very small infractions because they just don't have the money to bail themselves out. They should not be in jail. They should be on the street being able to be productive. And we know that the vast majority of those people will be returning to court, and what bail is supposed to do is to guarantee your return to court. The other side of the money bail problem is that for people who are serious threats and who do have the money, they can bail themselves out. We need a system where people who are serious threats continue to remain in custody, where the vast majority of people who are not forced to stay in jail because they can't afford to get out for a small infraction. So this is a systemic problem. It doesn't just have to do with one case. We know that there are times when the setting of an individual bail in an individual case is one thing, but this is a systemic problem. It's a systemic problem of money bail. Until we change that system, we're going to have the wrong people in jail, and some of the people who are the most dangerous being able to bail themselves out.
Mayor, my question's for you too. You talked a lot about how low the numbers were for violence the past 4 years, and then the chief mentioned that this year is a lot different than those past 4 years. Do you guys still have hope that you can change the tide going for the rest of the year? Yeah, that's for you. Yeah.
Of course we do. We feel, and Chief mentioned this, that this is not the usual pattern for this time of year or period, and I am confident that we will not continue. We're going to have violent crimes in Durham. There are violent crimes in every city in America, we know that. But are we going to continue this level of violent crime in Durham? No, I think what we've seen is an anomaly this last couple of weeks. I mean, I don't want to minimize it in any way. Every crime, every bullet that's fired, everyone who is hurt tears a hole in a family, in a neighborhood, in our community, in the heart of our community. I don't want to minimize that. But going forward, are we expecting this to change? Yes, we are. Because of all the good work that you've heard, both the police work, and I really appreciated Commissioner Jacobs' excellent description of so many of the resources that we have to offer our community. So there will be violent crime in Durham, as there are in every city in America going forward this year, but we are expecting us to return to a normal pattern and not the very difficult couple of weeks that we experienced at the beginning of the year.
This can be for the mayor, or if anyone else wants to step up, that's fine as well. Durham has a reputation among many people for being a violent place. I hear that most often from people who don't live here. Why do you think Durham has that reputation, and how do you think you can ever change people's minds?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that on. You know, Raleigh is a great place to live 20 miles away from. I understand that people in other cities let's just say this. We are a diverse city. We're the most diverse city in our region. We are a city of many colors. We are a city that embraces everybody. And I think that there is, I'll just be blunt about it, I think that there are people that live outside of our city who see a city that is as diverse as we are, and that their prejudice overcomes their good sense. I think that the impression that Durham is a violent city, that people in cities to the, near us might have, is largely based on their own prejudices and ignorance. The facts speak for themselves. We are not a violent city. We have violence, and all of our cities have violence. But we're not a violent city. Violence in Durham is down. We can't tolerate any violent acts, but violence in Durham is down.
I'd like to respond to that. speaking from a person that isn't from Durham, my overall impression of what we see in the media sometimes, I think Durham gets a bad rap. This is a great city to live in. It's a great city to work in. And sometimes the incidents that occur here are no different than incidents that occur in our neighboring jurisdictions. For some reason or another, we just seem to be in the news a lot. Even when it's not us, sometimes I see my patrol vehicle on the news, and it wasn't even our incident. So we're working really hard to try to, change that image and the reporting and having more balanced reporting about the great things that are going on in this city. Thank you.
Good
Any
morning.
other reporters have any questions? Vance, go ahead.
Good morning. I apologize, but I have to get back to work. I came in, I seen you guys here, so I want to come in because the incident that took place over by Hope Valley touched me personally. It really did. It touched me very personally. And I know that domestic violence is a very sensitive issue because victims' rights are vitally important, the highest, most important to me. And I know by the law, a man is innocent to proven guilty. But I'm just asking you all, what can be done when a person has been reported, and also not only that, but they're posting violent things on the internet, on their social page? Do we have the resources that when somebody is posting these things, that we can search them out, have someone to search out and see what they're posting, and then we can have a more proactive way of handling those kind of incidents? I'm not saying this 100%, but it's a better tool to use if we can use social media as a way of trying to find the mindset of some people, I would say.
Absolutely. Well, social media is a great tool and a great means for law enforcement agencies to get information about incidents that might be occurring between individuals. Even in some of the recent cases, we have tried to ensure that people that we thought were being subjected to some type of domestic or volatile situation, encourage them to seek shelter or help them get shelter in other locations. We have to work to get victims to cooperate, or potential victims to cooperate with us when we see signs. You can't make a person leave their home, but at the same time, we can try to educate them, try to be accessible to them, and do everything in our power to intervene before something dangerous happens. So the appeal that I made earlier was basically that if there's signs that are there, and some signs you shouldn't ignore as a person that's in a volatile situation, because once the arguing stops, then other types of incidents occur, and they gradually inflate to sometimes becoming very dangerous and very volatile. So we work really hard to be more proactive in intervening. Our officers who responded to that scene were just as touched as you are about it. We all were. It was a horrific scene. So our appeal today is not just to ask people to call, but to also support and advocate for more education and giving resources to individuals who think that they are in dangerous types of situations. Thank you for your input.
Good morning. Am I allowed?
Let me just add, at the Sheriff's Office, we are encouraging the community to reach out and call when they learn of these situations. We do some social media mining and looking at that, but we also have doubled our investigators in our domestic violence unit, and that number is 919-560-0974. If you learn of someone that is in crisis or needs assistance, please don't hesitate to reach out to all of us, and because we know it's a situation that goes underreported and often is reported too late. So we want to be on the front end of that and working with individuals in crisis. Thank you.
I see you have the mic. We're going to take one more question before we wrap it up, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
I really don't got a question, I got a comment, right? Like, what I want to say is, first and foremost, I want to say thank y'all for being of service, right? Okay, we got a lot of new leaders, but we got a lot of old problems, right? The mayor, welcome. Chief, welcome. Sheriff, welcome. You know, but the same situations are being addressed. We fed out a lot of numbers. Everybody's saying, call this number. If you got a situation, call this number. Then you get a recording. Or you go to that, you call that number, and you go fill out the paperwork, and then all you become is a number in the file box, right? So what's the real solution? You know, you got citizens, you say it's amongst the citizens. You got citizens that's standing before you, like I've talked to each of you on individual basis, and everybody got a compassion, and they want to see something different, but collectively, I don't see a change in my community. You know, I come to you and I tell you I got four organizations that can lay down 50 guns on this. You say you want to get rid of the guns? Give them something to give their guns up for. These guys, they don't want to fight. They don't want a war. They want jobs. They want to feed their family. They want to eat. They're not going to come down here at City Hall and meet. We got to meet them where they at. You know, when are we going to stop talking and do something about it? We got all brand new leaders. I'm with that. And I want to give you an opportunity to be a leader. But I don't want to follow if he ain't a leader.
All right, with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you all for coming. And I think Will has the handouts that the mayor referenced. So if you'd like one of those, please see Will in the back. Actually, the front. All right, thank you.